From Wacko Chacko Studio, I am Ashwin Chacko, and this is The Fruitful Life, a show about the business of creativity and the creators who have made their dreams a reality. Welcome to The Fruitful Life, Alan, aka MASER.
How are you?
Hey. Good.
Good, thanks. That's good.
Thanks so much for taking the time to chat with me.
You know what? No problem at all.
So, to get us started, can you please introduce yourself? Tell us who you are and what you do.
Yeah, my name is Al. My not so alias name now is Maser, but that was a tag that I came up with maybe over 20 years ago. What I do now is I am a visual artist. I sort of primarily use paint on canvas, murals, contemporary sort of murals, experiential pieces, fine art printmaking, anything really that I need to do to communicate what I want to say. A few other things that I do is I host a gallery space called Atelier Now. That would be also, for lack of a better word, sort of an incubator for up and coming artists. So maybe giving them the shortcuts.
Yeah.
On the career, or sort of lending advice, on certain things and facilitating. And it's quite a rewarding thing that I do for myself. So that's pretty much it. There's obviously loads of other parts of me what I do, but that's primarily my present in a nutshell.
I'm really looking forward to digging into your career and how you got started.
Yeah.
But before we do, this is a question I ask all my guests,
Okay.
like a icebreaker question. If you could be a fruit, what fruit would it be and why?
What fruit would I be? Probably a pineapple. I don't know. Because I just had it on the weekend there and a bit of pizza, so probably that. But I don't know. Yeah, you could probably speak for an hour on that. What fruits represent or what? Like I don't know. It's a bit of a wild question.
Okay. So let's go back in time a little, right? As a child, were you always creative? Did you know like art was something you were going to do? Is it something you discovered later in your years?
That's a good question because usually people start with the graffiti, So it definitely came before that. If I was to think back, there's sort of moments where I remember enjoying drawing, doodling. I'm 42 now, so when I was in school as a young kid, what's it called, senior infants and infants or baby infants, I think there was a book called Anna Barry. I remember drawing these characters, and enjoying that, sitting behind the couch, drawing them. When I was I went to a school, it's called St. Louis in Rathmines, and there's a classmate called Vinny that was there, and we're going to his dad's house. And it was my first sort of insight into a parent who was creative, and so they had a house, and up the top he converted the attic into a studio, and he was a graphic designer, illustrator. So he was doing commercial stuff. I remember he was doing packaging for this garlic, and back then I didn't even know what garlic was,
Yeah.
I don't think most people knew what garlic was in the early 80s. And so he then, I remember, brought us to the National Gallery of Ireland with a piece of paper, or like with a pad, and charcoal, and sitting there, we sat on the ground, and he got us to draw the whatever pieces there in front of us. I can't remember, but that was a very, very interesting moment. I just remember that being okay. This is cool, and that was probably one of the first sort of introductories, because parents for me, I guess, were, they told you, parents are there to give out to you when you're younger, and he was maybe more nurturing to the creative part.
Right.
Now, also, as I grew up, art and creativity was always sort of there on the sideline. Maybe it wasn't as the way it is now, as open. It wasn't. There was no. It's almost like a little secret or something you had. Maybe you weren't allowed to be creative or show that. your feminine side a bit more. I don't know if that's the right language to use there, but that there definitely is like a male and female side to people, I think, and I had a more sensitive side that was probably suppressed a lot.
Right.
And so I wanted to do art, but it was always sort of looked as like art was like a hobby, art and hobby,
Yeah.
sort of, it wasn't anything more than that really. It was something to distract kids. Even to the extent that when I went on to, I was going to the guidance counselor to do my leaving cert, and I didn't do very well on my leaving cert. And I thought I was a bad student. And I guess I was a bad student in school, but I wasn't a good student to stuff that didn't interest me.
Right. Yeah.
I'm studying an observation course now, and I'm a very diligent student.
Right.
I'm enjoying it. So I realized, it's actually, I'm a good student, and just that framework didn't suit me. But anyway, that guidance counsellor back then was trying to sort of advise me off art and not pursue it, and so it was always sort of deemed. And I think back then it was sort of like, you're just going to this bottomless hole of nothing if you want to pursue an artistic career, go to fine art. There was something along the lines of, I heard back then, that in all the years of art, there's only 100 artists that ever made a living out of it. So your numbers were stacked against you. Yeah. But also at that moment, there's probably the first sort of instinct that I had of where I speak about, we all talk about our gut instinct.
Yeah.
It wasn't labelled that back then, but I still knew now I want to do this, even though I'm going into this complete unknown. I wanted to do art. And so those are my first sort of, and it just felt good. I enjoyed it. I was always doodling. Anytime I had to do homework, I drew. I copied things. I edit comics, all that sort of usual stuff. I even tried to do a little bit of, my ma would buy me these little, these pound packs, three little watercolors and a paintbrush and a small canvas, and always doodling them. I think she still has them. So that was my first sort of insight into it.
And then what sort of opened up the way for you, or what pushed you into the art world? Because obviously there was so much happening during that time where, art wasn't really taken seriously.
Yeah.
It's very similar to growing up in India where, like if you said you wanted to be an artist, they're like,
yeah,
that's a joke, right?
Yeah.
There's like 3 or 4 careers you can have. It's either engineer, doctor, or like IT or something like that.
Yeah.
So for yourself, when was that transition or that aha moment where you were like, okay, I don't care, I'm gonna pursue this?
Yeah, I don't think there was any one moment. There's probably little markers. Like I had one of these aha moments just on the weekend there.
Right.
And funny enough, I woke up this morning a bit. It's Monday morning, but I don't usually get the Monday morning effect because I get to do what I want to do. But I was in a real low buzz. Like, why am I so sort of down or sort of a little bit frustrated? It's okay to recognize those feelings too. It's because I had such a high on Friday morning. I did another little milestone in my career.
Right.
Where I had a real moment that took stock of it. So I had that high, and I think I'm just sort of processing the downer from it now. And tomorrow, I'm already feeling more uplifted us chatting right now. But sorry, to go back to what you're saying. There wasn't key moments. There's always, I guess, art was this sort of companion, right? So I found graffiti then at street art around the age of 14, 15. A few friends had got markers. There's a friend's older brother who did graffiti, and I sort of looked up to him. He was into hip hop. He was just cool.
Yeah.
We weren't. We were still, Nirvana heads, whatever. Like, and I got into hip hop then, and Lachlan. He had a tag wisdom, and so that's sort of where I started getting into graffiti, and I think it sort of aligned quite well with my age. I was, playful and mischievous and wanting to explore the city, and graffiti sort of facilitated that. And then it also helped this sort of itch that I had for artistic.
Yeah.
Because I sort of probably went away from the art a little bit when I was going through my teens, so graffiti brought me back to it. And so I was sort of doing that.
And I suppose it took away the stigma of it being too feminine, or
maybe this masculine. Yeah. maybe it did that, you know. Yeah, I'd say so. There's parts of that. Yeah, it gave me an excuse, or like, yeah, for sure. That's actually a good point. Um, and now you just want to break all that down. Now you don't want to be like that. It's when you build up all this armor to be like this, and then you spend the second half of your life just trying to remove it all and try to get to the core of yourself again, because it's quite damaging, like, you know. But yeah, so there was things like that in graffiti. I went and then I went and did fine art.
In college?
In college, sorry, yeah, I went on then. So I did really bad in my leaving cert. Then got like, I think I got 160 or 180 out of 600. But I did a PLC course, and you could do, as in Still Oregon, you could do, you know, painting, ceramics, stuff like that. And so you build a portfolio and then you apply, and applied to Dunleary, and I got 600 out of 600, which was amazing. It was a real booster for me, you know. Went to Dunleary, wasn't ready for it. I probably for years blamed the course, but looking back, I wasn't really ready for it, you know.
Right.
There's an academic part of it as well. We had to write 2,000 words, and that was just highly stressful for me to be able to try and do that. And I just wasn't able to piece it together. So I dropped out, and I went back I had part-time jobs, and I went back being a commis chef and kitchen porter. And I did that, and then I sort of felt the pressure from my mother, sort of saying, you need a career, you need this. The word waster, not from my mum, but from someone else, who sort of thrown around quite a lot. And I sort of fulfilled that prophecy.
Yeah.
I became a bit of a waster. That's how I felt, you know. And again, just a lot of low energy, just to like moping along. Yeah. Is that down to like maybe not having a purpose or focus or drive, or not being guided enough? I don't know.
Yeah.
But I went and did visual communications, because it sort of ticked all the boxes. Had a career, had more structure. At the time I did, and also I was doing graffiti, which is in some way, it lends itself quite well to graphic design. It's abstract typography, you're skewing letters, you're doing layouts on walls, there's color, understanding, and form, and all that. So I sort of spilled into graphic design and loved it, and sort of amalgamated those two bits. And that's sort of where it sort of started really for me. I hadn't now this new lease of life, new energy, talking about it being a diligent student. Never really ever missed a day of college. Would always stay late, go above and beyond what I was trying to do. Just really, really, I guess, off the back of going to secondary school where I hated every fucking class, or like being so worried what the teacher's going to ask or engage me, because I just didn't know. I felt really dumb, you know. And to now I had this sort of new intelligence and coming of age a bit. So it was just a really, really liberating time for me, and I loved it. Continuing on from that, then you're meant to go in to do a course. I got offered an internship, but it just wasn't, again, probably went to that voice like, this doesn't really make sense for me.
Yeah.
I went and studied, no, sorry, I didn't study. I left and actually was working in a skate shop, and I got to do window display and started doing little nixers, like sign writing jobs and stuff like that. And that's sort of where it all sort of started. I sort of go, okay, there's a bit of independence here. The stuff that I love to do. I started working in a skate shop 5 days a week. Then I started chopping it to 4 days, 3 days, and got to stage. It was like, okay, I've got these little gigs where maybe I could just drop this job, and all that energy that I put into going to work, I can now put it into my own career. Yeah. And that's where I started. I took that shift maybe in my mid-20s.
Okay.
And it wasn't an easy road. Commercial work was what a lot of people, artists especially, would sort of rely on unless you wanted to have a job. Yeah. I was sort of staunch on not having a job. And so my first studio was in the George Bernard Shaw pub there, I'd say 13, 14 years ago. And that space I was painting it, and we had an agreement that I was sort of keep the bar decorated and they give me a free studio. Right. And I was doing little nixers, and that's sort of where I started. I had a bit of freedom then and go do my own stuff and still paint on the streets. And it's sort of progressing from that. So there wasn't any real milestones, really. I think I was lucky enough as well that I was one of the first. You could get, like, if there was a time where I went out and I painted "Makes I Love You" all over the street, right, stickers. Right. One weekend, and it got a lot of attention in the press. Now there probably wasn't people painting so much on the streets. They were focusing on different places. We were doing track sides and stuff like that. But you try to do that now with so low impact to what's happening now, it wouldn't be noticed. But I definitely think there was a lot of luck.
Right time, right place, right moment.
Yeah, I was fortunate to have a lot of luck through hard work. I was still painting as I do now, and luck came from that. I think people saw it, and
So you were parallelly painting fine art stuff, and then also, or just like commercial art stuff.
I was doing, I was out painting graffiti, painting murals, we were traveling, we were still in the graffiti sort of land of doing graffiti letters and
Yeah.
traveling around Copenhagen, painting festivals, different stuff. And then you would do little mixes, commercial stuff. So then brands would see what you were doing and then they'd invite you to do stuff. So I had some sort of one or two big projects.
Yeah.
Like I got to do illustrations for Vodafone. I remember like, oh, this is cool. At the time I struggled with it. It's like, oh, is this selling out?
Yeah.
Is this, because I was one of the first to be doing sort of commercial work. So there's a lot of push and pull. And I did feel compromised a lot of the time. A lot of those projects, so like losing your voice and sort of, yourself and getting briefs and then just you having to navigate that. Yeah. But I was also going, well, I'm getting to do my own art and I still get to, and not have to go to do another job and have a lot of freedom to then. I was sort of doing that work to sort of feed my beast, feed my other career, which was getting to do my own work. So I was doing that bit of commercial bits, then doing little mini shows with friends in the Bernard Shaw, and then out painting murals. So it's sort of still the way it is now, to be honest. I don't have it figured out. There's just more pressure now, more eyes, I think. And we're doing, I was doing a lot of public works, murals. It's taking on self-initiated projects. I was always sort of thinking, and that's still the way. I'm very lucky to like have a very busy mind. I had a tutor, coincidentally, his name was Anton MASER. He passed away now, but he really taught me. He was a visiting lecturer for IADT design, and he really made me understand that design and art was very problem solving. So you have this idea and how do you problem solve, and I sort of apply that to everything. I might have this concept. How do I problem solve this, or who do I need to connect to it, or who do I need to,
Yeah.
So,
And what made you choose Maser as your key tag?
yeah, there's nothing really sexy about it. It's different aliases because you're living in an area. I did write my name everywhere for a while.
Yeah.
But then you would just change different tags, and then I had the tag Mace. Mace 1. People write 1 if you had the first name.
Yeah.
You get me? So this time then Mace, that rapper, was out, this is probably like mid-90s.
Yeah.
Who was Mace with? Someone else. Puff Daddy? I don't know. Anyway, there's this Mace name. I thought, oh, people are going to associate with that. So it's Mace 1. And a lot of people did these things. There's like Mace 1er. And so I just removed the 1 and became Maser. And it sort of felt nice. It felt as a nice name. Typographically, then the M and the R set quite well to do a letter piece. You'd always have your tag usually around 3, 4, 5 letters. You don't want to go over that. 5 is a push, because you have to write one more letter. Think about it when you're out. So yeah, that was it, and it sort of stuck. It set well, and.
I'm curious about this. Did a lot of the American graffiti movement parallel your own?
Yeah.
Were you inspired?
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, 100%.
So who were some of your inspirations?
Back then, when we were doing graffiti, it was probably the FX crew. So it was all cassettes, and you have a cassette. Well, the first things back was Graphitism. It was a magazine that came, and I bought it in Forbidden Fruit when I was 15. Forbidden Fruit was it's a comic store. I think it's on the Quays now, but it was on Harcourt Street. It's the only copy they had, and I bought it. And then that was it, sort of indexed into all the English graffiti there, bombing the DDS crew, different graffiti crews. And then there was a shop in town ran by a guy called Snoopy or Sneaky or something like that. That's where the first B-boy graffiti shop was. Then it took over as All City, which is All City now.
Yeah.
I moved around that location. And then you get cassettes. There's a video. There's the FX crew, and we're sort of the first TNB crew. I'm actually a part of the TNB now, but yeah, we were very, very inspired by graffiti, UK, but mainly American graffiti. Yeah, that and that culture. Really, we didn't come from an anarchist street art view. That sort of came later on.
Right.
I think that's that culture, like, you know, Banksy and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Political messaging. It was more so about getting your name up and then developing on for that. If you wanted to pursue, which I did, more legal walls, productions,
Yeah.
more wall style pieces, and then decorating that wall with characters and themes and things like that. So, yeah, we had huge inspiration back then as well. When I was a kid, there's a thing called the Bridge Jam. It was in Drogheda and run by the TDA clan, which is a crew I'm in now. And that invited artists, UK and American, over. So you got to meet your heroes, you know.
Yeah.
And, some of them were absolute dopes, but some of them were great people too. And this was just like a playground for us young graffiti artists. We'd go down, spend a weekend there, get to hang out with your heroes, get to paint. And it was also like, these are milestones as well. You'd hope to paint at the jam on the sidewalk, and you want to work your way up. So I was very ambitious on trying to get up onto these main walls and be with these main crews, because I sort of knew I had the ability to do that.
And when did you move to America then? Was it after you'd established yourself in Ireland for a while, or?
Yeah, that was out of necessity, to be honest, man. Sort of like now, it's you're always just sort of swimming against the current here, you know, as a creative, and I had the opportunity. So this is years later. What was it? Yeah, you know what? So I was tipping away, had different studios around the place. Trying to think, London. No, London was after. Yes, had different opportunities, painting murals, and just sort of getting by. And sort of what actually happened was, I was doing a lot of commercial work and fucking getting frustrated with that. And I was sort of overtaken, putting into the time that was meant. I meant to do this so I could facilitate this.
Yeah.
And it just puts in, like, you know, fucking emails and briefs and all this shit. Like, and so I got the opportunity to go to the States. A guy hit me up. I thought he owned a skate park. And he was like, do you want to come over to Fort Smith to paint the skate park? And I was like, yeah, cool. Can I bring a mate? And we'll sleep on the floor, whatever. And I thought he was the next skater. He had this massive wall. And so he invited us over, paid for our flights, and gave him money for the paint. And he ended up being this amazing, amazing guy, which ended up being a mentor for years. And I was sort of telling my struggle and stuff like that. He wasn't a fucking ex-skater. This guy had built this skate park because Fort Smith was in Arkansas, next door to Oklahoma. And these are two of the poorest states in America.
Right.
And so there's a lot of skate kids here he was using me as a case study. Look at this guy following his career, following his passion, and now he's over here painting mural. Yeah. He's sort of saying, do what you love to do, skating. I know your parents probably telling you to stop. And so he built a skate park and gave all these kids jobs and just gave them purpose and reason. So he's an incredible, incredible man. And I sort of told him my struggle, and felt very at peace. I was staying over in Oklahoma on a ranch for 2 months and got to create work and sort of just get my head together. I'd lost my little cousin, my uncle, and my granddad all in a sort of short period of time. Mm-hmm. And I think that sort of compounded on me a bit without realizing. So he's like, come over here. And I did, felt good. And then I had the opportunity to move, get a visa, move over to the States for 2 years. And what he did was sort of, he gave me a great shift. It sort of gave me that sort of metaphorical push, you know. And that really, he was just sort of fed me great advice. He used to drop his kids to school, right? And he used to drive me to the studio, it's a makeshift studio. I was like, I'll go in myself. He's like, no. I'll give you a lift in every day. It's this dude that owns like big businesses, big proper businessman.
Yeah.
Big proper businessman. That's so stupid. But like, he would give me 40 minutes in the morning, 40 minutes in the evening. And in hindsight, what he was doing was just coaching me, just figuring me out and breaking down. He's like, why would you do that? Why not this? So he was just reframing my mindset and giving me the encouragement that maybe I didn't get from another male figure.
Yeah.
And man, and then he also, you know, full transparency, he supported me. He's like, for that transition, he's like, right, you need to stop doing this commercial stuff. If you come to States, I'll help you. Like, I'll get you a studio and stuff, and you could just focus on your art. And that was big shift in my career.
Mm.
And that's just sort of reframe my mindset. Or something like, I'll be like, I was with Conor Harrington there, an artist, Irish artist in London on the weekend. And he was like, who do you admire? And I said, Conor Harrington and J.R. He's a French artist. And it was just for their discipline and how much they produced. And he was like, why don't you message J.R.? And I was like, oh yeah, okay, I'll do that. He's like, no, do it right now. I was getting into the car. And so things like that, that I still hold on to. He's like, and I messaged J.R.
Yeah.
J.R. and I met in Dublin, and he was here to speak at Offset, and we painted a mural together.
Yeah.
So it's just that sort of like, put action to it now.
Yeah.
It's something I still do. Like, we all put things in a long finger, but I'm like, if I have an idea, I'll just message that person if I have access to them.
Yeah.
I'll do it now. Or I'll just go and book something that I want to go do, So that was a real good shift. And what happened then was, because I put all that, so I remember saying, took the energy from my job, from Tribe, the skate shop in town, into my own work. Then that commercial work sort of consumed. Now I took all that, just put it into MASER, and that just fucking got me going, man. I just had that self-belief, was like insane. And it ended up, whatever way, I guess, again, look, through hard work, opportunities came.
Yeah.
And I was traveling a lot and started doing large installations. I was back in Ireland a bit I could keep rambling here, but like, there was one moment where I got offered to come back to Limerick to do, I think it was City of Culture.
Right.
I don't know what year that was, maybe 2012 or something. And I'd already had some great things before that, but I came back to paint this hoarding at this petrol station.
Yeah.
In the town, and I saw the petrol station. So why don't we paint that? And I painted the actual petrol station, in Limerick, with this curator, Catherine. She's brilliant lady, really invested in the community in Limerick. And I painted it. And when I took the photos, people came in and walked around. We painted a car, everything. And just at that moment, I realized I created an experiential painting,
Right.
which is an installation, let's call it. And so that just set me in this whole, that went up on some blog. And then I got hit up with curators in Berlin, Australia, everything, come do this here.
Yeah.
So that set me off for this worldwide travel, which we call the circus. I met with an artist, Lee Hill, there the other day. He's from New York. And we used to, all the sort of post-graffiti or street artists, all of different disciplines, were traveling around the world together, and we meet each other. And it's like the circus that we called each other, like all these clowns. And that was a great journey, that went on. So, I was doing that as well as then doing little mini shows.
Yeah.
But that was a big shift for me. And if it's to give it the simplest form, it was recalibrating my mindset.
Yeah.
My I don't know if it's an Irish thing, or an artist thing, but self-doubt, listening to others, all that, which I've still fall victim of, don't worry. Like, that's good. That gives you context at times.
So if you were to simplify that mindset for somebody who, like most artists, are probably going through a lot of what you were feeling about.
Yeah.
What would you reframe it as? Like, what should be their focus?
I think it would probably be we probably focus on our discipline, our craft, but I would probably look at the surrounding elements to that. And everything is integrated. We do live a very integrated lifestyle.
Yeah.
So if you're in an unhealthy relationship, I'd be pretty confident that's going to have an impact on your practice. Having not being creative will have a negative impact on my mindset, which might send me down doing unhealthy habits, trying to find escapism through alcohol, or, so you can sort of see how it all sort of feeds. So I would say sort of look at what tiers are in your life and what's not serving you, what isn't serving you, where do you want to be, are your actions aligning with your intentions? So simply, let's say 2024, I want to make a book.
Yeah.
I want to get into sculpture. And I want to run a marathon. But if I'm still drinking and eating fast food and not going to the studio 5 days a week, I'm pretty sure I'm not going to reach that. So you have to sort of go back
milestones.
If you want to, it's almost like a chart. You got to break it right down to what habits and what are you going to introduce to make you reach these, and it's not linear.
Yeah.
You know, it's always self-reflection and thinking and trying to get your fucking head around it. And and so I find simple tasks and tools like journaling or rituals and repetition. Like, so I could go off on this, like, you know, but like this morning I got up early,
Yeah.
did my journaling, did a little bit of meditation, just sort of regroup because I had such a high in the weekend that I was feeling pretty low this morning.
Yeah.
So just sort of like put these little things in. Journaling really sort of gets out of your head. What's your list? Preparation is good. It's all the sort of shit you hear fucking people, like all this motivational stuff you hear on Instagram, you know. There's touches of that. I don't want to be this person that's talking that sort of talk. But in terms of being creative, I think if I take care of myself as much as I can, nurture good relationships, find out what's important to me. My wife, my child, my mother, my sister are very important to me. So making sure they're secure, safe, happy will then help me go on to the next part of, you know, being healthy, going to the gym as much as I can. I'm very gentle with myself at the gym at the moment. You know, really young son. So I used to be like, oh, you know, really focusing. I didn't go to the gym 3 times a week. But that's another thing that helps. I used to put a lot of weight in the gym thinking this is going to make me happy.
Yeah.
It brought me to a certain stage and then your body gets used to it or your mind gets used to it. So now I have to do other rituals, which like journaling I find really helpful, or meditation, and you sort of use these tools. And what I'm saying is I use these because they'll get me more aligned with myself, which are able to get me into the studio more organized, have a clearer mind and execute. So I know I'll probably paint today for 2 hours, but because I've done these rituals and talking to you today, I'm more aligned to get into the studio rather than waking up on a Monday after having a heavy boozy weekend, loads of emails to catch up on. So you try and get everything shifted so you can go straight in and get into that flow state.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing is like build a disciplined life, which ensures that you know what your priorities are.
Yes.
And then order what you do based on those priorities.
Yes. Yes.
Because I feel like, I don't know what you think of this, but I think artists and creatives in general, we have very addictive personalities.
Yeah.
And so if it's not funneled or pushed in the right direction, it can easily get fueled by all the wrong things. Like if I'm not focused on doing art, I can easily get addicted to, you know, alcoholism or drugs, or like all the emotions then overtake you, and that discipline, if it's not there, pushes you down the dark path.
Yeah. I could even have discipline in my life. One part, going to gym, go to studio, but then not be disciplined in other parts of my life.
Yeah.
And it still fucks it up, you know. It's like I say that to be disciplined because it does give happiness. So people be like, oh, discipline sounds like, you know, oh, it's torture, you're not going to be happy. But no, it's like you can be not disciplined and get a quick release, right, of joy. Let's say you go and you're like, I just want to have a drink, and go have 3 pints and go have that. And if that suits you, but if that has a knock-on effect for a few days, then you're not going to be happy. Like it's like when you go for a hike, sometimes it's a bit taxing.
Yeah.
And but the release of happiness and fulfillment after that is a lot longer than something else, you know. So I guess that endurance and discipline does give you a slower release of joy and happiness and purpose. And people talk about this grind shit and all that. Like, you know, I get it because grind does give you purpose and stuff, but yeah, you have to be sympathetic and nice to yourself as well. And I used to beat myself up internally quite a lot. My inner voice is very fucking negative to me, you know. And it can be a driver sometimes, but it can be very detrimental to your mental health, you know. So be disciplined. I think it's a stacking thing, you know. Like you don't need to go straight in and be like, I'm going fucking vegan and I'm not gonna drink and I'm gonna go to gym 5 days a week. I notice if I do one little ritual, it brings on another one, and you sort of get used to it. And sort of journaling, let's say, or that's meditation, or cold shower is a trend now, or you know, or sea swimming. But these things do bring it closer to where you want to be and aligned with who you want to be, and they also just make you sort of a better person. Like if I am fulfilling my prophecy of being a painter, and what I go home happier,
Yeah.
you know, and I'm a better, nicer, more tolerable person to be around.
I think you made like a really important point there, because when you look back and we talk about how you said people used to tell you you're a waster, and then you became a waster because you allowed those words to
Yeah,
permeate you, and you're like, what's the point, and you allowed that to fuel you. But then when you switched your perspective with the help of that mentor
yeah,
and started funneling your mind towards, here's where I want to go, this is kind of the direction,
yeah,
then you start creating little rituals, as you say, little disciplines that push you in that direction,
yeah,
and that shapes you. And so the words that we tell ourselves shape how much who we are and how successful we're going to be as well.
yeah. Totally. And I've said journaling about 50 times already, but it's something that I do. And in that, I reflect on yesterday.
Yeah.
I, uh, and this is advice from a friend here on. I've been doing journaling for a while, but he was sort of reflect on yesterday. How could I have improved one part of yesterday? What you're going to do today? Your few tasks or other things. So I'd always try to have one or two sort of goals, intentions, and then credit yourself on something. And that's that positive talking. Like,
Yes.
fair play to you, man. You were in London yesterday with your son and your wife, and fair play to you and you didn't lose your shit, because that was tough getting from the airport with your son back home, or things like that. Even though there was laughs along the way, but there's tiredness there at times. So yeah, really giving yourself those little wins, it reframes your mind a little bit. I was very, very negative to myself all through my teens and my early 20s, very against my appearance, very, very negative to what I looked like, and it really manifested into then low self-esteem, insecurity. That then you project that onto others. And so this is just a lot of stuff that I'm sort of working through the last few years to really go, wow, that was whatever triggered that at that young age just went on for like, a decade, 2 decades, and I would sort of break it down again. But yeah, those words are important.
Yeah, for me personally, I've started this thing in for the last like 5 or 6 years, this idea of attitude of gratitude, and it's learning to, rather than look at the negative aspects in life all the time, saying, what was the positive? What did I learn out of that situation?
Yeah.
And like being like, oh, I'm still blessed. I still have a roof over my head. I'm
Yeah.
still getting to practice my work. Sure, maybe I didn't hit all my goals. Maybe I didn't reach where I wanted to go.
Yeah.
But, I'm still grateful. And that gratitude then funnels me or fuels me to keep going to the next thing. I'm like,
Yeah.
especially when it comes to the end of the year, right? And you're like, oh, shit, I had all this shit I wanted to get done, and I feel like I did nothing.
Yeah. So you're looking at that one list of to-dos, but you didn't look at the list of what's been done.
What you actually
Oh,
accomplished.
yeah,
And then,
yeah.
like looking back and be like, oh, actually, this happened. Oh, actually, I had a much more productive year than I thought I did.
Yeah, right.
But
So
in
yes,
my head-
taking stock, isn't it? So yeah. Taking stock and giving yourself the time to sit down. Like, what did I actually do this year? What did I achieve? And where's my happiness? And how can I then? What can I do to change that? Like, what do I learn from that? And making time to invest that in yourself. I do that every year actually as well.
Yeah.
Just I'm already now. We're in November. What's next year looking like? What things do I need to put in place? What new goals or what other thing can I stack on discipline wise to help me further my goals? And just I'm very mindful of saying that we're saying all this from a very privileged place, like what I mean. That just I had the news on this morning. I had to I had to turn off. My son was watching telly, but like just sort of. Yeah, it's easy to be grateful. Like, like once you start checking in, we're like, holy shit, how fucking lucky we are, man, and in current situations. So, and to just sort of make the best of that then as well as you can, like,
and it's time as well. Like, I don't think we had the same appreciation when we were younger, but as you grow older, you start realizing actually, it's not as intense. But,
Yeah.
like the small things aren't so bad.
Yeah. Comes with age, I guess. Yeah, it's just. But I notice I still like. I'll get an email. Don't get me wrong. As like zen as I try to portray myself, I still get an email. I'm like fucking faster, and I'm like, and then I'll be like, okay, you know what I mean? That's no big deal. Let that be. Just something I still work on, or like, oh my God, I can't believe.
I
And
think it's okay to have like an intense reaction,
yeah,
but it's learning not to then act on that.
yeah, and check in and go, leave that for a minute. And you sort of know the more you check in, you're sort of breaking that reaction down to where then you're able to manage it. Because you're in I lived a lot of my life as fight or flight. That's from growing up. So you just always like that, and you bring that into your real life. Someone sends an email like "fuck you too," like it's, you sort of realize, oh shit, that like, without getting too much into it, but like that sort of like mental anxiety that I had from circumstances. It doesn't know where it's being driven, so anything could sort of trigger it, like or like you're like, oh God. But that just comes with learning, and again, trying to have these tools. Of self-awareness and empathy is very important. It's a real good one. And you said gratitude. Like that gratitude thing. Damien Dempsey made a whole song about gratitude.
Yeah.
And when you listen to it, you're like, that dude's figured his shit out as well. Like it's as simple as just explaining. He's so grateful for what he has. So, but yeah, I couldn't. As well, when I speak, I'm probably like a lot of creatives. My brain is sort of it jumps all over the place. It doesn't really have linear, and so I have to put structure to that as well. Artists that I sort of say is like, if you can put sort of structure and framework to your day, it helps that crazy mind. Because me and Sean were just saying it there. You sit down to write your list, one email, and then you go off. Oh, this other email, this email. You need a bit of structure, As we very fluid lives and we're all over the place. So mine is I was traveling a lot. I was saying there was a period 1 year I was on a plane every week. So it's, and it was deadly, but there was burnout with that.
Right.
But I just felt I was disaligned to who I was. I was doing these huge installations, but I sort of became more of a production manager than creative. I was being asked, "Oh, we love what you're doing, so do that." And sort of doing it, I wasn't. Sort of lost my voice a little bit. So, I needed to come back and get grounded.
Is that what brought you back to art?
That's what brought me back to Ireland. Yeah, and career-wise, it wasn't probably short-term career-wise, it probably didn't make sense.
Yeah.
Because what do you do? You come back to Ireland. What does that look like? Going backwards, you've lived in the States, you've lived in London, now you need to come home. And I had all these opportunities. As with Lazarita's gallery that gave Banksy's first show, I was going there. And then I was like, nah, I need to come home. I'm fucking all over the place here. Like, eternally, I felt like I was driving, right? My life, but the steering wheel just came off. Everyone sees me, and I'm just driving, and I'm like, but I'm going straight for a wall. So I had to come back and regroup, and that's where I found meditation. And I started practicing that. It gave me an awareness to be like, what does coming back looking like? And it looked as a studio, getting a studio, not just a nice home, but somewhere I can really facilitate and nurture all my career and put it all in one space. And that's what started Atelier.
Right.
Called Atelier MASER, just MASER Studio, and it sort of unfolded into the gallery incubator space. And if I look back, I was probably doing what that guy did for me in the States, Steve did for me. I could sort of see how great that was for me, and I had an opportunity to do it on a local level here. So that's what that sort of came to full 360 or whatever it was,
No, so like you had mentioned about feeling burnt out, and that's, I think, the worst feeling for an artist, like to be burnt out by the thing that you love the most.
Yeah.
What practices have you put into place now to sort of prevent burnout in the future? What sort of steps have you taken to like be like, okay, I know if I go down this this path too far,
Yeah.
I'm gonna end up back in that same spot.
Yeah. The fear, the fear of not going back to where you are is a good motivator to keep it fucking in check. But no, I fall victim of that all the time. Even this morning, I have the ability. Yeah, it's probably not valuing your time enough compared to others and saying yes. So the ability to say no, you always hear that, but that's so true. Like this morning, I said no to a mate that wanted to do something, and he wrote back to me saying, "It's really good to hear you say no to this, even though it was what he like wasn't facilitating, but it gives him the motivation to say no.
Yeah.
Because I said I could say yes to this for the ease of it.
Yeah.
I'm not feeling sort of guilty, but then I'm not going to be doing what I need to be doing. I'm then internally going to get frustrated.
Yeah.
I'm going to be tired, and it's going to lead on to burnout. So the burnout was there years ago. To the extent, man, I was going to the doctor and he was giving me injections to put me on a flight. I don't know what it was, like vitamin, whatever.
Yeah.
In the fucking glute, my ass, and sending me on a flight the next day.
Yeah.
Like that's how bad it got.
Wow.
Because I would go to do these installations, and now again, I'm grateful for these. These are fucking fun times.
Yeah.
But a big space like this, and have to do this massive installation, the show would open, and then you're on the flight the next day, and my project manager has me booked in somewhere else. So you go from a high right into something else, and it's just like bam, 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 bam.
Yeah.
And I just fucking crashed. Or like just that high energy, think about that, and then think about you're trying to chill and talk to someone. I'll be fucking all over the place. So like, you're quite emotive and responsive.
Yeah.
Just like got too much. So I find at times, sometimes you got to put the head down and okay, let's say June, July, August, we're busy.
Yeah.
And I knew, okay, if this stays like this, I'm going to burn out.
Yeah.
But my goal is October, the end of September, start of October. That's where you're going to take it off. So, okay, that means I can put the head down. And when I wake up and I'm frustrated, I know that's the end goal. I'm not going to be burnt out. And that's what I did. I was very respectful to myself then to make sure that October is off, meaning no painting. And just to catch up on household chores, chill with Alfie, my wife, Dee, a bit more. Yeah. And so, yeah, you can sort of test it like that. And it's just more self-awareness, checking in with yourself.
I'd say journaling as well probably helps you reflect on that.
Yeah, totally, yeah, and doing a list and stuff like that. It's again, it's not just one thing. It's all these sort of moving parts. Because us as artists or creatives, you don't just have we live in a world where we have to pay rent and mortgages and childcare or whatever your thing is. Like, fucking the price of. I remember the days I'm looking at Tesco there. You go to Tesco, and you do your food shop for 30 quid.
Yeah.
Like, you can't get fucking, I don't know. Them days are gone. Yeah. Where you'd be like, right, 30 quid, that's me going to Lidl, like, for the week. And so you have all these pressures, and then when you're painting and and it's come from a place of privilege to say this, but when you go mark something on a painting, it's like, what are intentions of this? Who's going to see this? Is this going to be sold? What shows? So it's all this added pressure that you have to try and remove to get to just painting.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when I start feeling that too much pressure, that's where I back off. And so I didn't do a show this year because I did 2 shows in a row. I did 4 exhibitions in the last 2 years prior to this year. And, I was offered more shows and I was like, nah, because the intent of where it's going, the finish line is already made out for me.
Yeah.
Before I even have to investigate. So I'm taking this year and next year to just sort of investigate. Started doing the observational drawing course again, which is beautiful. It's literally like I'm running to class on Thursday mornings. This teacher Sam is brilliant. It's a Marion Square there, and it's what it is why I'm loving it is because I'm going there and there's no intentions or pressures. I'm just learning.
You can switch off.
Just switching off, and it's like a meditation. It's like a journaling. It's something that I'm doing for myself. Don't giving myself time to do, and it's not for. You know what? Actually, sorry. That drawing course, or going to the gym, or journaling, or meditation, you're doing something for yourself. So you're actually prioritizing yourself rather than external priorities or other things. And I think that's then where you start feeling a bit better. So I'll prioritize that. I'll go paint for 2 hours today, even though things may be falling in around me. And then you feel good and then you can manage those other things. So it's all really integrated, without sounding too holistic. It's finding out what's really important to you. And I'm able to say that because I went off skew for ages.
Right.
The ego took me away and had me, singing someone else's tune, dancing like a puppet to someone else, and popularity and all these different things. You have to sort of go through it to go, oh, this isn't me, you know.
Yeah.
And that's okay, and now that I know myself more and more aligned, I can obviously support my community more, and I can really just do the work that's important to me.
Yeah. And I wonder how much your mindset changed or your priorities changed when you became a father.
Yeah, they do. As cliche as it is, they really do.
Like,
Not instantly,
yeah.
because you're just overwhelmed. We're like, whoa, maybe I'm a bit of a slow burner. That's what I was telling my wife. I was like, it's just taking a bit to process. I love my child. Like, I had that moment where, he was born, he was crying, he went on my chest to stop crying.
Yeah.
That was like key moment. But yeah, I guess your priorities do shift where it's like, I have to fulfill this prophecy. I want to live forever through my art. That would be one of my goals, if I'd be totally transparent, that I'm motivated to paint and try and paint the best work I can and have the most impact. So, because I know I'm going to die and I'd love to live on more than just one generation in some way.
Legacy.
Yeah, legacy does have a bit of a negative connotation to it, does it? Does it? Because does it sound selfish? But I think my legacy definitely has shifted to where, like, maybe my art, sorry, collectors, but maybe my art isn't my number one priority.
Right.
It definitely facilitates and nurtures my family is my number one, and my son is my number one. And maybe my legacy is to make sure that he is an emotionally mature and secure man.
Yeah.
And I can facilitate him and being as best I can. Like, he is my new whatever, my new everything. And so, yeah, it has made a shift, and it gives you definitely a new motivation. I think maybe prior to Alfie and D, it was more like year by year. Oh yeah, it's cool, tip along. No real, what would you say? Just sort of enjoying it going along.
Yeah.
But now, yeah, definitely it's like, okay, what's the next 5 years look like? 10 years? You gotta like
A lot more intentionality.
yeah. Which on the outside might actually look like you're doing less because you're less frantic.
Yes.
But I'm going in more streamlined. Like, I might need to paint this week because I've more intentions. Like, I know 2 weeks' time I'm going to block out that time and work towards having that headset. Boom, and do that then. Rather than sort of I was probably more frantic, busy.
Yeah.
And now, yeah, you're figuring out, you're game planning out a few more years ahead. I didn't do that. I traveled every year. There was a decade where I moved every year, moved house, all just sort of. But now I guess, yeah, you're trying to be more stable, and it really helps your career.
Yeah, it's shifting your mindset as well away from that anxious hustle where you feel like you have to keep doing to like, actually, I have a plan in place.
Yeah.
And if I take these steps, even though I'm doing less work in the long run, I'm going to produce more. And that work is probably going to be a lot more impactful.
For sure. There's such a shift, isn't there?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was sort of coming before my son.
Yeah.
But yeah, having a child definitely amplifies it more.
Yeah.
And because you can't have that frantic hustle attitude and then bring that into the house, or like start up and now there's days you got to get your shit done and something's happened, you can't get out the door, whatever. But yeah, that energy has to shift to where you gotta,
and you have to be a lot more flexible in your approach to life because stuff can happen with your kids, or maybe they need a little more attention one day, and you have to.
Yeah, valuables for sure. And in a more practical way, I used to have my list for every day.
Right.
Now I do my list on a Sunday for the week, so that gives me flexibility. So I mightn't get it all done today, and so long as I check in my list every morning, and sort of, oh cool, if you can mark off one thing now. That might be just reply to Karen, like, that person sent me that email.
Yeah.
And that's boom. I'm just like marking off that list. And so I find doing it in a week helps me sort of get through it, because then you have the guilt if you do a few things and you might get through in the day. You have to be more flexible and malleable to sort of get your bits done. And factoring things in, like quality time with your kids is just as much a priority as it is riding back to Karen.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So if there was one piece of advice you would give the next generation, what would it be?
Jeez,
I mean, like, next generation of creators who who look up to you and they're like, we want to be like MASER, but
God.
or like they've seen what you've done and they want to achieve the same things.
Yeah, it's there's no secret sauce really, That's my advice. No, it's just again, I'm so mindful of going into these sort of cliche statements,
Yeah.
But just really enjoying that process. I guess really doing the groundwork and figuring out who you are and what makes you happy. That will bring you on to be motivated. Again, I'm a late bloomer. It took me a long time to do that, but I always had something in me where I love to create. So, yeah, self-reflection, slow it down. Yeah, as we said, slowing it down could actually produce better, more productive work. You could actually, work on yourself a lot, but will really benefit your practice.
And I suppose to encourage people, how many years do you think it was before you felt like you really started making a career out of your art?
Well, like you
over the
we think I've made it, but in my mind, I haven't even started,
That's what
So let's say success. Success is such a crazy one, isn't it? Because it's like some people think it's successful, but I feel like, yes, there's parts of my life that's successful because I'm living a life. My wife, my child, I have a studio. I get to paint. It's success. But there's other tiers of success. I'm nowhere near where I want to be in my bigger career yet.
Yeah. No, as in like when you felt like you finally could make a living just doing your art, versus having to work part-time in a skate shop and that sort of thing.
So what?
What was the time period progress?
Oh, that's I don't know, like
Say
but
10
10
years?
years, like at least, But like, don't get me wrong, I still have that fear. I'm like, what if the show doesn't? What if I'm locked into my Instagram at the moment, right? And it's just so stupid, but like you're like, wow, shit, yeah, you lose so many contacts, or like you really base a lot of your career and like sales or whatever through your online shop or shit like that. Look, there is no. It's just if you get through a year and you're doing good, try and do again. What's the bigger goal? It's to be just creating your own artwork.
Yeah.
That'll make 10 years. Like where I want to go, probably if I was to reach where I want to go by the age of 65, I'm good. So you're already seeing now. Look, I'm thinking like 23 years later to get, and I'm patient enough to do it. So what do I need to make to get to there? I need to make sure I'm healthy. I need to make sure I have a healthy relationship with my son and wife, because that negative impact will have a negative impact on my career. Got to make sure I'm eating well. Got to make sure I'm training, because I won't be able to have the mobility to paint. I've got shoulder issues already from painting big murals. So see what I'm saying? Like if you want to already get to your career. So yeah, it's a long old slog.
Yeah.
But so that's where you have to enjoy the process. You're doomed if you don't enjoy the process or doing stuff that doesn't align with what you want to do. You've got to
No, like, because from almost every conversation I've had with various artists, illustrators, different points in their career, and most of them who are now quite prolific in their work, it was 10 years before things even started happening for them.
Yeah.
And then obviously it's learning to see that sure, it's going to be, growth takes time.
Yeah.
It's a slow process.
Yeah, it's a good 10 years. Yeah,
But
think about milestones.
yeah, but you still need to like you want to do it next year, because otherwise you're not going to get to the 10 years.
Yeah. Maybe you're just setting the bar up slightly, and that's what I'm doing. Like you're able to do this and you're setting it up. But yeah, from going from sort of college to where I was just sort of doing my own artwork. So that's, let's say, 22 to 33. Yeah, to where it probably took me 15 years to where I didn't have to just do commercial stuff, sign writing them and beer ads and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Now I choose to do commercial projects sometimes because I'm like, oh, that'd be a bit of fun, or that brand or company align who I am and what I want to do.
Yeah.
And it gives a bit of variety as well. Like, yeah, I guess the dream is for me to just be painting in studio canvases and creating sculptures, but I want to mix it up a little bit as well, you know, and do other stuff and test new. We worked on a augmented reality piece, me and a pal of mine, Michael, and that was great. And what did that do? There's no sort of big intention with it. Just did it. But then once we did, it was like, oh shit, that could lead on to this, you know. And for artists, when you do these things, if you're thinking commercially and you want to sort of do that, you do your own. 99% of the commercial projects I've been asked to do is because I've done something independently.
Yeah. So the power of the personal project.
The power of the person, because they're not buying the product, they're buying the person who did it, 100%. And I see artists who would, let's say, discount their work. And I know we've got pressures and we try to discount publicly, let's say, half price canvases. And I'm trying to get them to understand they're not buying the product, they don't want a half price product, they're buying the artists and they're willing to spend that more, you know. And again, you got it, as you just said, it's a bit of a slow burn. So if that's not doing, maybe you try and do other, you look at different streams of revenue or something to facilitate that. Don't compromise your voice so much. But yeah, brands, I every project that I've done, they've seen me do it for something else, you know.
Yeah.
Even down to like the simplest, the Dublin Boys Club that I run. So many fucking brands are on to me, like about, can we jump on this? Because they see how valuable and how authentic and real it is. I'd say no to that, obviously, because it's a very special group. Yeah. It's a men's mental health group. But so it's the same thing. They see an artist creating something and they see it's true and it's from the heart. And so they want to have a piece of that, you know.
Last question I like to end all my interviews on is what does the word fruitful mean to you?
Fruitful, you love the fruit, don't you?
It's called a fruitful life, so.
Fruitful for me, I guess, yeah, is just different parts of, there's happiness and then there's joy. I think happiness is quite immediate, but have joy in our life, and is being very fruitful. So to be able to, you know, on a weekly basis, let's say, to be able to do a bit of your passion that you want to do, be creative, check in with your family, I have certain things that are just, if I get to nurture my friendships, my family, my health, and my career, that's very fruitful for me, like, you know. And again, you're looking back over a year rather than days. I'm like, well, okay, I went and I traveled there and I did that and I did this for me. That's, I feel only now, I'm 42, I think only in the last 3 or 4 years, I'm really like getting to like live my life. And I know on paper from others, people might say like, oh, he's done it great. But personally now I'm living a very fruitful life now. And I'm just gonna keep nurturing that as much as I can to really, really get it juiced up.
Well, thank you all for listening to this episode of The Fruitful Life. If you found some value in it, please give it a like and a comment, and do share it with a friend who might like it. As always, breathe true, be you, stay fruitful.